بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'd like to inform everybody about a really exciting project, which is the restoration of the house that Malcom X, or as he's known to many, Malik Shabazz. The Imam Malik Shabazz, or Malcom X, is probably one of the most important figures in the history of Islam in the United States of America. He was an intellectual juggernaut for the Muslims. He was an incredible and gifted orator. He inspired not just his own generation, but generations to follow of people involved in struggles for oppressed peoples. And I think one of the really wonderful aspects of American society is preservation societies themselves. There are organizations in the United States that are actively engaged in preserving historical sites. I live, for instance, in a place, I only found out recently that one of the great American playwrights actually wrote most of his plays here, Eugene O'Neill. And I went and visited his house. It's a historical site. It was going to be sold, and some people came in and they raised money to buy it. And when I went I took my family and we walked around, and what was intriguing was, even though I'd read some of Eugene O'Neill's plays when I was in high school, I actually got them out again and was interested in just looking at Eugene O'Neill from a new perspective. So Long Day's Journey into Night, very depressing play, but he is definitely one of the important literary figures in the United States. So the fact that his house was preserved was something that engages people with the individual. You understand the individual on a different level, and you want to know more about them. So having the house where Malcom X grew up in Massachusetts I think it's a really important thing to preserve, so that anybody that goes to Boston can actually go and visit the house that Malcom grew up in. They'll have a connection with Malcom that they didn't have before, just because that's the way it works. I was once in Czechoslovakia, and I visited a place where, what was at that time Czechoslovakia, and I visited a place where Goethe had just spent 2 weeks, and they made it into a museum. He'd only spent 2 weeks there, but he wrote one of his works there. And it was very interesting going in. The house was preserved, and his writing desk was there that he wrote his book on. And again, it made me want to read Goethe, who's interesting and worthwhile, one of the great German authors. So I think it's really important to connect people with Malcom, and I'm really hoping that the Muslims can do this. I think this is something that we should do, and I think a large number of people giving small donations could make this very affordable and very easily done, but I think it's worthwhile. I think Malcolm's memory is definitely something that we should preserve in the United States collectively as a people, because of his role in the civil rights movement and as a spokesperson for oppressed peoples everywhere, and also specifically for the Muslims, because of his embracing orthodoxy, embracing traditional Islam, and that being central to his identity, the identity that he died on as we believe a martyr for Islam and for Muslims and for oppressed people everywhere. So I really hope that the Muslims are the people, even though I think this is a project for all of the United States, and in a just world, I think tax dollars would be used for these type of projects as well. But be that as it may, I think it's important for Muslims to really rise up and support initiatives like this, so that we actually partake in the historical preservation of the memory of Malcom X as one of the great people that have emerged out of this crucible in the United States of America, and as a spokesperson for Muslims, for oppressed peoples, for those voiceless everywhere that he gave voice to, and his voice continues to resonate in the hearts of people all over the world. I think that his house is definitely worth restoring, preserving, and being a place where people who visit the city of Boston can actually go out and see where Malcolm grew up, have some connection, a personal connection that they would not otherwise have by simply reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. So my hope really is a lot of small donations. We can make this a very doable project, something that can be done with the Muslim community in the United States, and something we could be proud of as a community. And so I'm putting my money where my mouth is, but also my mouth where I want other people's money to be. So I hope that you all support that.